Money talks. Power follows. And whether we admit it or not, the world has always worked this way. But here's the real question. Should the rich have more rights than the poor? Not do they already, because we all know they do, but should they? Would society actually function better if wealth determined your level of freedom? Or is that a dangerous idea that leads straight to corruption and inequality? Let's talk about it. At first, this question sounds ridiculous. Of course, the rich shouldn't have more rights. Human rights are supposed to be universal. That's why they're called rights, not privileges. Freedom, protection under the law, and access to basic needs should apply to everyone, no matter how much money they have. But here's where it gets interesting. If we're being completely honest, the rich already have more rights, not officially, but in reality. Think about it. A billionaire gets caught in a crime and suddenly they're paying for the best lawyers, pulling strings and cutting deals that an average person could never afford. Meanwhile, if someone with no money commits the same crime, they're stuck with a public defender, sitting in a jail cell for months before they even see a judge. Then there's access to health care. The rich don't wait in crowded hospitals or deal with insurance headaches. They pay for the best doctors, the fastest treatments, the most advanced procedures. A poor person? They might not even be able to afford the medicine they need to survive. Now let's be honest, money is power. The people who control wealth control everything else. They have influence over media, laws, and policies. Politicians listen to the people who fund their campaigns, not the ones who are barely scraping by. So if money already gives people better access to justice, healthcare, and opportunities, then why not just make it official? Why not structure society around financial power? Let's take this idea to the extreme. Imagine a world where your legal rights depended on how much wealth you had. If you had $1 million, you got full rights. If you were broke, you had fewer rights, fewer protections, fewer freedoms, less say in how things work. Sounds unfair, right? But some would argue that we already do this in less obvious ways. For example, in many countries, voting laws indirectly favor the rich. The poor are often working multiple jobs, struggling to make ends meet, and have less time to be politically active. Meanwhile, the wealthy fund campaigns, lobby politicians, and shape policies in their favor. So, if the rich are already running the system, would it be better to just acknowledge it outright? Instead of pretending we live in a perfectly equal world, should we just accept that money equals power and design a society where rights are openly based on wealth? Let's play devil's advocate for a second. Some argue that giving the rich more rights isn't just about money, it's about contribution. The rich invest in businesses, create jobs, fund technological advancements, and pay more in taxes. Shouldn't they get more say in how things are run? Wouldn't it make more sense for someone who's building billion-dollar industries to have more influence over policies than someone who isn't contributing at all? After all, in a company, the CEO has more power than an entry-level employee because they take on more responsibility. Shouldn't society work the same way? But here's the counter-argument. What happens when wealth becomes the only thing that matters? If rights are based on money, then who stops the rich from exploiting the poor even more? Wouldn't they just create laws that protect their wealth and make it even harder for the poor to rise up? Let's take a look at history. Every time power has been concentrated in the hands of the rich, it has led to mass inequality and social unrest. Feudalism, where landowners controlled everything and peasants had no rights. The Industrial Revolution, where factory owners became billionaires while workers lived in slums. Even today, we see extreme inequality in places where wealth dictates power, like oligarchies and corrupt regimes. When wealth is the only thing that determines a person's rights, society stops functioning for everyone except the elite. And then there's the moral question. Do the rich actually work harder than the poor? A billionaire could sit back and do nothing for the rest of their life, and they would still be rich. A single mother working 2 jobs just to survive is putting in more effort than a CEO lounging on a yacht. So should the person grinding 12-hour shifts have fewer rights just because they don't have money? Maybe the real question isn't whether the rich should have more rights, it's whether they should even have the level of power they already do. Maybe instead of debating whether the rich deserve more privileges, We should be asking, how do we stop money from deciding everything? But let's get real. Is that even possible? Money influences everything. Even if we tried to make the world more equal, the people with money would always find ways to maintain their advantage. Whether it's through legal loopholes, political power, or sheer access to better resources, they'll always be ahead. And let's not forget, most people don't actually want equality. They want the chance to be rich themselves. That's why people defend systems that benefit the wealthy. Deep down, many believe that someday they'll be the ones with power, and they don't want to change the rules before they get there. So does that mean we should just accept it? Should we lean into a system where wealth determines rights, instead of pretending we live in a world where everyone is equal? Or would that push us into a dystopia where the rich become untouchable and the poor are nothing more than expendable labor? What do you think? Should money buy power? Or should society fight harder to level the playing field? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's debate this. If you love content that challenges the way you see the world, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's keep questioning everything. And remember, just because something is a certain way doesn't mean it should be. See you in the next one.